This episode is brought to you in association with Timeform, your trusted source for racing data and analysis. By Total Performance Data, the world leader in thoroughbred performance technology. And by Fitzdares.
Good morning and welcome along to the Nick Luck Daily YouTube channel and podcast for the fifth and final day of the Qatar Goodwood Festival. And I'm joined alongside RacingTV's Anthony Dunkley for what looks to be a scorcher.
Yeah, absolutely set fair. What a difference 48 hours makes. We were all shielding for cover on Thursday, the worst I've ever seen, by all accounts, many other people as well. It was comparable to when I was standing just over there by that winning post where Here Comes When caused the shock in the Sussex Stakes. But Thursday was worse. It was truly awful weather. This is a place you need the sunshine. Everyone says it, and they don't say it for nothing. This is not a track where you want to congregate inside. It's just fantastic to be here. And to end the week like this, we've also had a Stewards Cup day that had to be abandoned after the Stewards Cup because of torrential rain. Touch wood, we're all set.
Yeah, for those watching on YouTube, you'll see just how glorious this place is. For those listening on audio platforms, honestly, make sure you don't pack a coat today. You won't need one. How's your week been in general?
Yeah, it's been lovely. It's been a lot of variety. It started off with in the studio on Monday evening for Galway action. That really sets you up as well. This is a long week. Two really good festivals that have different mission statements ultimately. Galway's a lot of fun. Goodwood's a lot of fun, but it's a little bit more serious, but not quite as serious as Royal Ascot. So good to kick off that way. I was here Wednesday for a bit of work and a lot of pleasure. Thursday, similar. That was the plan anyway. And yesterday I was in the studio. I've been enjoying it while I've been here. I've been enjoying it while I've been afar. But this is where it all began for me. So it could be a really underwhelming week, and I'd probably still be a paid up member.
A busy week, and it's still not stopped you getting here very early this morning on the Saturday, so we admire your commitment. On the podcast today, we're going to be talking about the racing yesterday, the racing this week, some highlights, as well as looking ahead to the Stewards Cup today. So we'll start with yesterday, and we'll start in the King George. A poignant success for JM Jungle's connections, the Jason Hart and the Quins, especially after Highfield Princess having won this race in 2023. Passed away last year very sadly. Great to see.
Yeah, really good to see. We've heard a lot about the fact that the gulf between high-class handicapping sprinters and group race sprinters, there's never been less of a gap, really, and yesterday was the embodiment of that. You had a horse in JM Jungle who'd won on the, I think it was the Nassau Stakes undercard last year, on this 5 furlong track under very different ground conditions. Still enough juice in the ground for him to do what he's always done. He arrived in great form. The golf didn't look too much, and he certainly proved it. Amazing for Jason Hart to be 1 minute jocked off Ross Cullen, winning the Golden Mile, and then suddenly he takes the even bigger race, the really valuable Qatar King George. Yeah,
JM Jungle, ultra consistent. Let's talk about some of the more notable runners in that race, the shorter priced horses. Any unlucky stories with the likes of Big Mojo as Fura, Time for Sandals?
I thought Big Mojo, despite the fact he was a 5 furlong winner here in the Molecombe as a 2-year-old, I'm not completely convinced about him absolutely wanting the minimum and an easy 5 furlongs, a downhill 5 furlongs. It just felt like it may have been just a little bit all too quick. He's still got loads of options there. As for ran fairly, I think Connections probably would have been slightly ruining how bullish they were in the lead up to it. Henry Dwyer, extremely bullish.
Couldn't get beat in his eyes.
That was before the rain came, and I'm sure he'd like to have revised those comments. I'd imagine York is still on the table. They'll be hoping for an easier run through there. I don't know where we are with Knight Raider. I see a lot of people keep getting sucked back in that he could well have a big pot. You hear that a lot. I'm not so convinced, to be honest. Yesterday, he was on the wrong side, as it turned out, but he's just not for me at this current stage.
What did yesterday's King George say for the sprinting division in Britain as a whole?
Have a go. If you have a horse in JM Jungle who is officially rated 102, the current favourite, I believe, for the Stewards Cup is rated 104. That kind of tells you everything you need to know. Fortune favours the brave, and if you are brave, sometimes you will be rewarded. American Affair winning the King Charles III probably lays testament to that. Those two horses, American Affair and JM Jungle, actually faced each other earlier in the year as well up at York. So have a go, and you might well be rewarded. If you've got an opinion, if you have a track that you perform particularly well at, like JM Jungle does over this course and distance, then he was likely to at least run his usual solid race, and in this case he won.
The Quinns have mentioned the Nunthorpe. Is he a Group 1 horse? Can he go one step further than he's already done?
Yeah, why not? I mean, anything's possible in this current division. Don't think we've seen a standout, really. I think the 2-year-old interest in that race is going to be fascinating. Does Lady Iman go? Does True Love go? What other options might Aidan O'Brien have to throw at the race? I love that 2-year-old element of the Nunthorpe, getting so much weight for age and of crazy low weights as well. I think Nick was noting how many jockeys do we actually have to be able to do those weights in this country. But it's his local track. He's won a Group 2 and a very competitive Group 2 at that. Absolutely have a go.
A great day for JM Jungle and his connections. That was our review, but it's now time to get the thoughts of Timeform and Kieran Clark.
The second King George in the space of 6 days. The Speedsters this time in action, and it looks to be quite an up to scratch renewal, somewhere in the high teens provisionally for JM Jungle. The race where they've split into 2 groups, and with a view to the Nunthorpe, he's clearly a horse with plenty of course form. He's a strong traveller, and he probably goes there with a live each way chance. We know what the yard can do with a progressive sprinter, as we've seen with the likes of Highfield Princess and a few more through the years. But it was the horse who won the race on the near side group, who is really, really interested in a view to the Nunthorpe, and that's the Calbert trained Knight Raider, who's very, very quick. He showed that when he was 3rd in the Duke of York over 6 furlongs. I think if he gets quick ground on a very sharp 5, he might just take some pegging back. We've seen what the likes of Living the Dream can do when they won an Nunthorpe. They just go and don't stop. And there's a chance at a double figure price he might be a bit of value in the Nunthorpe. The 2-year-old filly said the betting at the minute. It'd be really interesting if Lady Imam took up her position. She'd be top rated if she did. But yeah, I think the Nunthorpe's bubbling up quite nicely. And then a quick look at the sprinters for Saturday. The Stewards Cup, Get It, who won it last year, also won at Wokingham. That form's been frank since. In the Bunbury Cup, he's drawn 27. The very speedy Hammer the Hammer's drawn 4. So it looks like we're going to have a very similar setup there. There's pace high and pace low. I think those in the middle could get a little bit marooned, but at least we can have an idea of what's going to happen. And it's not going to be completely random, who has a pretty good chance coming from stall 1.
That was Kieran Clark of Timeform crunching the numbers on yesterday's King George. Elsewhere, we had the Bottoms Thoroughbred Stakes won by Seagulls 11. There was lots of Seagulls chants around the winners' enclosure yesterday. Lots of Brighton fans making their voices heard. And Oisin Murphy, Hugo Palmer teaming up. He did it very well, but the story probably going into the race or coming out of the race was Cosmic Year. Plenty of talk, especially online, about the ride given by Colin Keane. Did you think that was fair?
I think some of the criticism levelled at Colin since he took the Juddmonte job, there have been some rides which you look back and think, even he surely is looking back and thinking, I'd love another crack at that. I'm not 100% certain that is the case here, to be honest, because Cosmic Year, the profile of this horse, the way he stopped in the Prix-Jean Prat on soft ground the time before, had you a little concerned. James Millman made a really good point on the Racing TV Mark Your Card coverage about how the fact he would have gone back and had a full MOT after that, trying to find a problem, and clearly they didn't feel that they had found a problem, so they put him in here around a month later, or just under a month. It felt like if the gaps were there, whether he was going to get whether he was going to have the door slammed in his face or not, he wasn't in contention for those gaps. He had his head slightly to one side. I'm not so sure of this horse's genuine nature as it currently stands. I know that those are big words to say, but ultimately now he has to prove that wrong in some regard, because even if he is a 7 furlong horse, even if you drop him back, and even the way the race played out, it absolutely suited Seagulls 11 on the front end. Finishing speed percentage of 106% according to Race IQ bears testament to the fact that you didn't want to be sitting behind. He still should have been competitive enough to take that kind of gap, or at least put himself in contention. I didn't see that on the replay, to be honest.
They were talking about 6. Is this horse a sprinter?
He might be, and maybe a really quickly run 6. I think he is potentially also one of the casualties of the way that Juddmonte have had such a strong pack. Jonquil was the same in the Lennox. I know that was speculated after. Would his campaign have been different had he been the number 1? I just don't really know where we are with Cosmic Year anymore. That was a race where he really should have been at least competitive, and what we saw when he was crossing the line, it looked like he should have been the outsider of 4.
An interesting week for those Juddmonte 3-year-olds. I'm sure we'll get on to one of those later. But we'll go back to the winner, Seagulls 11. Improving, big plans. The Golden Eagle in Australia, possibly muted as a target, 10 million Aussie dollars. Could he go and really feature over there?
Why not? Lake Forest beating Lazat in the race last year shows that European horses sent under the right conditions can really achieve anything. I mean, look at what they've gone on to achieve this year. Lake Forest, unlucky earlier in the week, had the perfect setup in that race. Sounds like Celebration Mile first. That seems like a good move back here, a natural progression from a Group 3 against his own age group, a Celebration Mile against his elders, and then a conditions race down under where local challenge is going to be fairly strong. There's a Japanese horse as well who won the NHK Mile, which I guess our closest equivalent would be the 2,000 guineas. Their Japanese 2,000 guineas is over 10 furlongs. So local challenge will be strong. Chris Waller won the inaugural running of the race in 2019. He hasn't won since. He's got a couple at the head of the market. But if you fancy 20-1 about Seagulls 11 and you think he will make the trip, maybe it's best placed. I'm not sure.
Have a go. The Golden Mile yesterday was won by Ross Collin. Lots of celebrations around the RacingTV podium. No doubt David Amira and Daniel Tubbo. The 7-year-old, this horse is become a real legend, isn't he? Almost totaling £400,000 worth of career prize money. 6th win at Goodwood. There's something about this place that he loves. Why does he love it so much here?
I think a connection said afterwards the fact that it's heavily intimated that downhill tracks and the kind of setup that he gets in these big field handicaps really suit him. He'd have loved it to have been an absolute pond out there. It wasn't that. It was drying ground, but there was still just enough juice in it for him to be effective. He was also perfectly positioned from his low draw. That year on year, barring the last 2 years, if you weren't in stalls 1 to 6 or the closest 6 stalls to the rail, it was going to be very difficult in the way that the race played out. And Ross Collin, when you have a Goodwood record like that, when you break swiftly under Danny Tudhope and get in a good position, it was going to be hard for him to be out of the frame. I didn't see him necessarily winning it. I thought he might well place, but it's fantastic for proper have-a-go heroes in the Dixon brothers and the Horse Watchers. This horse is the embodiment of what exactly they're trying to do. They're looking for horses who maybe it hasn't clicked immediately, but it's been clicking season on season since they've had him. I'd say he's probably their best since Big Country, who used to be their flag bearer, who won I believe he won a listed race and maybe even a group race in Scandinavia. It's fantastic for connections who put their heart and soul into the game ultimately.
It makes you definitely want to get involved, doesn't it? The performance of the day arguably came away from the group races, and that was Fox Legacy's win in the 9 furlong conditions stakes. A hat-trick up for Oisin Murphy, following up his win in the John Smith's Cup. 3 out of 4 since moving from Sir Michael Stout to Andrew Balding. This is a horse massively on the up.
Very much so. Perfect race for this type of festival, I think, that 9 furlong conditions race. Some people might say, well, are you maybe taking horses away from races which they should be running in? I don't agree in that respect, personally. This is a perfect stepping stone from heritage handicapper to group class and to see what they have.
Well, how high is this horse's ceiling?
Very hard to tell, to be honest. He was perfectly positioned all the way through the race. They didn't go a mad dash. Liberty Lane, I think, was too keen for his own good. I was quite strong on him, but he was too keen in Clifford Lee's hands, even though he was perfectly positioned in the box seat. A slightly more straightforward type, I think, in Fox Legacy, who I would surely think would have international aspirations. Now, they travelled the Foxes last year to to great avail, finishing 4th in a Hong Kong Cup and bagging a load of prize money. I'd fancy he might well be the same. Bellum Nostrum as well in the same colours, won out in Nashville and took a massive paycheck home. I fancy he might be the same. He's also homebred for King Power. This is a very important horse for the operation, I'd feel.
Yesterday we caught up with Hamad El Jehani. Hit the crossbar twice yesterday with Diego Ventura and Jeff Koons. We asked him, how's he finding his Goodwood week?
Yeah, today is the 4th day in Goodwood Festival, and we have 3 runners today. Diego was the first runner for us today, and he finished very well in 2nd place. He gave us that confidence, that forecast, give us confidence to put him in that race. You know, there is a lot of good horses here. And after that, I would say the last report from the ground, I think we know that he's going to race very well. It's a good performance, or the best performance for him to finish 2nd in Group 3. Hopefully we'll see him next in 9 furlong. Maybe he need more further, 9 or 10, I will say. But I'm sure he can give me a nice win here in England. Goodwood, I think it's one of the best race cars, because, especially for the Qataris, because we, as you know, it's sponsored from Qatar a long time ago, and we was very fancy to see that races, especially you know, there is Arab horses, and they print a lot of names belong to Qatar, like Al Shakab and many cities, which it's good to see here, to see this in Qatar, in Goodwood. So, and a lot of people follow that races and watch it from home. So it's good to give him that feeling to win that race.
That was Hamad El Jehani. Hasn't yet got a horse past the post in front yet, but no doubt enjoying the Goodwood week, the glorious Goodwood week. And on the whole, this week has been fantastic. The racecourse are chuffed to bits. Great news. The whole week is up 10% across all public enclosures. How have you found it being out and about, and especially the performances on the track?
I've loved it. I really have.
Any particular highlights?
I think, as someone who saw their first Sussex Stakes in 2001 when Rocker Gibraltar won,
Blimey.
Seeing the shock of Kirat winning at 150 to 1, the closest shock, it wasn't even that much of a shock. It was Real Buddy in 2003, Pat Edery's, I think, final Group 1 winner, and he was a 20 to 1 shot. I was standing just over there at the front, and you could have heard a pin drop. It was a cliche, but it really applied in that regard. A sad postscript out of the race that Field of Gold found to be lame the morning after, broken on this podcast.
We're still waiting for test results, I think.
Yeah, it's a concern, isn't it? You'd obviously liked him to have been in top fettle throughout the race and be able to show that it wasn't so much of a fluke to Kira. I guess that slightly lingers a little bit. What are they going to have to do with Rizalian for him to win a Group 1? I'd imagine maybe City of York, but that's turning out to be a competitive race in its own regard. I understand what they had to do with the Nassau Stakes. In other jurisdictions, if they weren't able to use the starting stalls, I think a majority would have postponed the race and run it on another day. Given that you had other days that you were able to run it on and take stock, then maybe there's something to look into for the future. But then you bring into the ITV schedule, you bring in other things that are out of Goodwood's control potentially. I thought the best horse won. I thought See the Fire ran with a lot of credit though, considering where she broke from. Probably should have got second, but I was happy to see the Murphys validated with bringing Sassene over. And I think everyone's particularly sad moment of the week, unfortunately, was Trushan in the Goodwood Cup. I think it may be even slightly harder to take when there isn't rhyme or reason to it, an injury that can happen at any point with a horse running around a field. It wasn't on a bend there. It was just one of those things, and given how they'd minded him through his career, that left a particular sour taste in the mouth.
Yeah, he was an absolute legend. Did we see the Arc winner this week?
Maybe.
I think we did.
Do you think World's better than Minnie Hawk?
I think she might be tougher over a mile and a half.
Yeah, I guess that's it, isn't it? The 1.5 mile question of stepping her back up, she could well be better, given that the way they rode her at Epsom over the most demanding 1.5 miles that you can find, she was there to be shot at, and Minnie Hawk was able to down her, but it wasn't easy, was it? So I think we might have seen the arc winner there.
Talking of the 2001 Sussex Stakes.
Yes, I do love to hark back.
Do you want to know how old I was then?
Go on.
I was still, I think
everyone would like to know.
I think I was still possibly in nappies.
Were you?
Yeah.
Okay.
But I remember it like it was yesterday.
I mean, I was probably wearing something similarly embarrassing. Young kid on the racetrack.
One of the great Sussex
Undersized
Stakes.
suit.
Any 2-year-olds that took your fancy?
Lady Iman, definitely. I was very interested to see that the pace developed further away from the stand side than you might expect. That was the question going into it. How exactly was Ryan Moore going to navigate things from stall 2? And also the fact that she'd been so precocious early. She was the first winner for Starman in a back-end March 2-year-old maiden.
Dundalk.
At Dundalk. The first 2-year-old race, I think, in the Irish calendar.
Yeah.
And she bolted up there. The inevitable question is going to be, when are they going to catch up to her? And you thought they might have last time when she was behind Beautify in the early stud.
How good is she?
I think she's very good. I think she showed that here. It was a race she really should be winning, but I think she really stamped her class on here. I still do have questions about exactly when the pack might catch up to her, but there is reason to believe that maybe she can carry this on a little bit longer. Fascinating to know if Connections want to race her on as a 3-year-old. If she was to win a Group 1, it would be job done in that regard.
Is Zavatiri now the best British 2-year-old?
There's a definite case for it. I thought the race set up perfectly, though, for him. They went quite hard in the early stages. Charlie Bishop was wise to that. He wasn't the only one. With a fast finisher in Morris Dancer, he was better positioned ultimately, that he was just on the rear of midfield, if memory serves. I mean, it feels like a long time ago at this point.
Could be a couple of months ago now.
Could very well be. I thought Morris Dancer acquitted himself really well in behind. Very Godolphin type name, Morris Dancer.
I know.
I wonder. I wouldn't have thought Sheikh Mohammed would have been aware of Morris Dancers, but there you go. He ran fine.
Yeah. Goodwood wasn't the only big meeting this week. Galway as well. Any highlights from there?
I think.
Or any highlights away from Goodwood?
It's hard to remember the early part of the week, as we were just saying. One of them actually happened last night. Charlie Fellows getting a decision in the Stewards room over in America. It worked in his favour.
He was due one.
He was due one. Luther winning the Hall of Fame. And he is another one who's actually in the betting for the Golden Eagle. He's a much shorter price than Seagull's 11. He's 12-1. An extended 7. You would wonder if Connections would want to step him back, but I can think of 5 million sterling reasons why they might have a think about it.
Now we're going to take a look at today's racing, and the feature is the Stewards Cup, the hottest betting race of the year. But before we discuss it, we're going to catch up with George Trotter from Fitzdares, who's going to provide us with the latest betting movements.
On to the final day of this year's Glorious Goodwood. We're looking at the Stewards Cup today with a maximum field of 28 runners for this 6 furlong charge up. The draw is really going to come into effect, so we're going to be looking at the horses with the higher draw, as they're going to be the ones that benefit from the cut on the ground. Favourite for this race is Hamad El Jehani. It's currently 13-2. It's had a streak of 3 wins before its second place at Royal Ascot, so it's got some really good form to back it up. Alongside it, you've got El Monjed. This comes in after its win at York. However, it's been drifting in the market, sort of going out to 9-1, 10-1. You might think that this indicates its poor form for the softer ground, so that might be something to worry about though. The bogey for this race for us, for Fitzdares, is surprisingly Jackajaro. It's about 20-1, so a big price, but we had some early betting for it yesterday. So the punters of this horse are going to be hoping that its return 6 furlongs is going to be the key for its return to form. We've got a boost running, El Monjed or Hamad El Jehani, either of them to win. It was 5-2, both boosted up to 3-1. So if you're interested in the favourites for this race, this is the boost to get on.
George Trotters of Fitzdares talking about a compelling betting race. Have you got one for us? Have you got one for the NLD listeners?
Strike red each way. I'm hoping that the price isn't ruined by the time it starts to come out.
You've been quite warm on him for a while.
Yeah, ever since actually 7 days ago when he ran in the Sky Bet Dash. He performed miracles from stall 20 on that occasion behind El Monjed, who reopposes. You had to be drawn low. You had to be drawn low. From 10 under, and even those ones closest to the far side rail, they were absolutely favoured. They filled the places. He was running on 6th from 20, and I think having previous form in the race on too quick a ground last year behind Get It, I think with a maybe slightly... It's a sound surface, yes, but it's not good to firm, it's not rattling quick, and he will get the pace set up because Get It is on his side. He's installed 21, his strike cred. I think Get It is 27. He'll go to the front, hopefully we'll make the race for it. He needs them to go quick.
As Stewards Cup tips go, let's say 0 was not very confident and 10 is, this horse is not going to get beaten. Where would you be?
I would say 7.
Oh, that's really punchy. I like that.
Because Angus McNay and I decided in the Racing TV studio while we were watching that Sky Bet Dash that he will probably win the Coral Sprint Trophy, or try to again, on softer conditions as he'll get later on. It's a plan, hopefully, that they stick to. There's loads of options in between then as well. But he's just such a thoroughly likeable horse. He just needs them to go quick, and hopefully they do. Hopefully by the time they start peeking over that brow of the hill just there, a big 28 strong field, that Get It will be 3 or 4 lengths in front and
Towing
going
it.
for broke. Exactly.
Yeah, I didn't come down on anything in the Stewards Cup, but I quite fancy Boyfriend at 8-1 in the 4:55. Ryan Moore taking the ride. Career high mark, yes, but a good 4th at the July meeting last time out. Particularly eye-catching on a sole start here. I think the extra furlong will suit him, so Boyfriend will be my fancy.
Big Justin Bieber fan.
Yes. I could sing it for the viewers, but they don't want that on the way in.
You prefer the new material?
If I was... No, I'm not even going to try. I'm not even going to try. But it's been a fantastic week.
It really has. I've thoroughly enjoyed it. I'm looking forward to giving it one more crack this afternoon. And no rain currently knocking about. No. So it's been the other way around. Sometimes we start off in bright sunshine and we're just treading water, quite literally, at the end of the week. But I'm glad it's this way around.
I'm much more used to the biblical conditions that came down on Thursday.
Well, did you see the socks that I wore for you today? So I've got some Joe and Murray Donnelly.
Look at those.
Silks on, just for Josh.
That's tremendous.
Because I figured you might just need a little bit of home comforts in behind. How have you found the week?
I've loved it. I've really loved it. To be honest with you, weeks like this, and I know it's going to sound annoying for those that have probably seen me badgering on Twitter for about 5 years talking about National Hunt racing, but weeks like this make me really regret sending every single one of those tweets, because it is brilliant. And it wasn't so much it's frustrating because my love for jumps racing is still there. But I definitely tweeted saying that I preferred it heavily off the back of actually just not experiencing it, and now I have done. I mean, this place is just magic. The place is absolutely bouncing. The racing's quality, and I'm coming around.
What do you think they do really well, and what do you think they could maybe improve on from a racegoer point of view? You've seen plenty of big jumps festivals, you've seen your share of flat festivals. Now, what do you think they could maybe have a look at, and what do you think they've nailed?
I think they've nailed an awful lot. Goodwood as a track, as a racegoer experience is fantastic. It's very close, which I find really good. It's not a right hack. It's not a half-an-hour trip from one side of the racecourse to the other. Obviously, the weather massively helps as well, which is a regular occurrence during the flat season. But to be honest with you, I wouldn't improve much. I'm really much looking forward to enjoying my day today, out and about, really enjoying Goodwood for what it is. And I can't wait to come back next year as well.
That's excellent. We look forward to having you back.
Yes.
To be honest, it was a particularly sweet moment for me when I found out that you'd be here for all 5 days in one guise or another. I thought finally he's going to get to see what I've been seeing in my backyard all this time, bleating on about novice hurdlers in July. You still are. Yeah, you still are, but it's nice that it's in this setting.
I would be lying to you if I said I didn't have a chat with David Pipe yesterday whilst he was here about novice hurdlers next year.
Of course.
And Chepstow isn't far away, remember that one. But thank you so much for coming on, Anthony. I hope you've enjoyed your time on Nick Luck Daily. We've had a brilliant week. Nick is away on his holidays, but we've had Rishi Persad, we've had Matt Chapman, we've had Charlotte Greenway, we've had Dave Yates. It's been fantastic. Winning tips as well. We do hope you've enjoyed the content on YouTube, or if you've been listening on all audio platforms, and we'll see you on Monday.
You've been listening to Nick Luck Daily. This episode has been brought to you in association with Timeform, your trusted source for racing data and analysis, by Total Performance Data, the world leader in thoroughbred performance technology, and by Fitzdares.